When the people you're supposed to trust most turn out to be demon scum, your eyes really do open up to evil everywhere. I took a stand, fought back, killed, and after all that anger, violence, and death, you have to dig deep. Look into your own heart to see if you're still sane, or if you can still call yourself human.
Devil May Cry is a reboot of the popular demon-slaying series. You play as Dante, a cocky, smug, arrogant demon slayer who is able to travel between two worlds, the one we know and Limbo.
All right, see you on the other side.
The Demon King Mundus is enslaving the world with control of debt and also a popular slurm-like cola that's full of demon poison.
Virility's secret ingredient is what makes Virility the #1 soft drink in the world.
Mundus wants you dead, and after his minions find you, you're set on a path to take him down and, in turn, save the human race. The two realities to this world make for some interesting design, don't they?
Yeah, I like Limbo. If you can handle the hardcore, heavy-duty thrash metal music that plays when you're in it, it's an interesting mechanic. I like that what happens in Limbo doesn't necessarily stay in Limbo. It affects the real world, and you can see the devs have had fun playing with this. Whether that's being simply guided through Limbo by your friend Kat,
You will have to cross a sky bridge to get into the East Wing.
or using your grapples to change the real and save your friends. There's a lot of platforming in this DmC, but it's mostly trial and error, so I didn't have that great a time with it, but I thought there were still some inspired moments as they manipulate the world around you.
There are around 20 or so missions, but I felt like each one of them had a point or a purpose, either to the story or to mixing up the gameplay with new abilities or weapons. You know, you just never felt like you were simply moving through zones. The Limbo world also makes each mission feel different because the devs manipulate and play with so much of the environment. And I'm glad they do, because the combat does get a little bit relentless. When you strip away the world and platforming, it becomes a series of rooms with increasingly difficult enemy combinations. I mean, I did get a bit tired of that.
Yeah, I've always seen DmC as a bit of a gauntlet that you run through, and you have to make your own fun with the fights to get anything out of it. So I think it's not going to be for everyone, that kind of combat.
Yeah, I mean, I would even go as far as to say it's just not worth playing this on normal. I mean, satisfaction comes from tough fights that stress out your health. You know, for once, I actually like that your health doesn't regenerate. You need to buy refills or get the odd drop, and that adds a layer of preservation to the strategy.
The game encourages you to mix up different attacks and chain them together to get the best score for each fight. There's demon and angel weapons, and you'll switch between these depending on the situation and the enemy. This makes fights about prioritizing as you launch enemies into the air, pull away shields, and duel with the odd swordmaster to test your evading skills. So there is a lot to do in a big fight.
Get down here!
Well, I would, Dante, but how can I put this? You're beneath me.
I especially love the fight on the way to the Demon King's lady friend. It made good use of the demon angel themes. Plus, she's super gross.
Yeah, at first I just thought it was a bad texture, but then you actually realise she's a horrible skin bag with a demon inside. Ugh. And you can get a nice rhythm going once you master the controls, but I don't know, they're not very intuitive, are they?
I did not like the controls. I did not like them at all. I don't mind combinations and remembering those. I don't like the ones that have the pauses in them, and there's a few of those here. But that aside, there's just so many modifiers to switch out between all the different weapons. Left and right trigger do different weapons for each one, and then also the D-pad to switch certain weapons. It's all just too much and too convoluted. And just trying to pick the right grapple, whether to launch yourself or pull something towards you. It's a finagle and a half.
An angle and a half. Yeah, I mean, if you stop playing this for a day or so, you can actually forget what everything does. And while I think some people may revel in that complexity, I personally found myself craving a more God of War style fight system. That slow motion hit ending each fight is always satisfying, and it's a nice bookend to the fight as well. Even though Dante's smug creep smile pops up almost every time.
think you're all mixed up.
Yeah, he's a smug machine. In fact, for the first few hours of this game, I absolutely hated him.
On your prime date, you ugly sack of shit.
They've tried to westernize this Devil May Cry game for the reboot, and I think that is the right way to go, but not everything gels, including his hair. With fans, anyway. There's even online petitions saying they hate his hair, and I don't really mind that so much.
Not on the list.
It's more that I just think he's a bit of a jerk. He comes across as a jerky kind of character.
I am now.
I don't know, I think that could be on purpose though, because about halfway through the game, when things start to get more serious, you really see his character shift as the stakes get higher and more responsibility is placed on him. And plus, you know, I think his attitude in general starts to mature once the bond between him and Kat grows.
What are you doing here?
Escaping my nightmares.
You came to Limbo to escape your nightmares.
Yes.
Yeah, I did like him more towards the end, and I do see that shift, but I still think, you know, this is younger Dante, and he has lessons to learn. He should have been less good at what he does at the start.
I like it rough.
I mean, this is a reboot. You're starting again. You know, let's build something. I feel like there's assumed knowledge that we don't know about, and the snippets that you get about his family just wasn't enough.
Is this really going to work? He doesn't seem to care.
He's raw. Just like you were when I first found you.
Maybe he's just a cocky young upstart.
Maybe that's why I don't like him.
There are still some fine moments to play out, and I'm glad it's a simple story told well, which I much prefer to an overcomplicated demon mythology epic.
No, we can't help her. Let's go.
We played this on all platforms, and it looks great on PC and pretty good on 360 too. The PS3 version, though, we did notice some frame rate and shimmering issues. Enough for us to notice. Not a big deal, but I still saw them. All in all, this is a pretty solid reboot. It didn't really grab me the way I thought it would, Hex, but I had an okay time. I had a 7 out of 10 time with this game.
Well, it was 8 out of 10 from me.